I think Mary Ellen has a meeting that she mentioned might run a little over, so she'll probably be joining us. But just to start off, I'll call the meeting to order. And I believe we need to read the accessibility notification. Is that right, Joanne?
Yeah, do you have the agenda? It's at the bottom of that, or I can pull it up if you don't have it.
No, I have
Okay.
it. I can
Awesome.
read it. Old Colony Planning Council, including the CEDS committee, assure that no person shall be excluded from participation in, be denied benefits of, or otherwise discriminated against under any of its programs and activities. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities and those with limited English proficiency. Accessibility accommodations and language services will be provided free of charge upon request as available. Our full policies are available at www.ocpcrpa.org. Any person who feels their protections have been violated may file a written complaint within 180 days to Mary Waldron at mwaldron@ocpcrpa.org or Old Colony Planning Council, 70 School Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301. So with that, Joanne, do you want to call the roll?
Sure, I'll do that. All right. If I state your name, please state here. So John Murray,
Here.
Mary Ellen Brett. Mary Ellen said she would join. She's just running late. So Chris Cooney, no. Deb Petty, I see is on. Deb, hello.
Hi, I'm here, but I'm not representing Hanson. I just wanted to listen in. Is that
Listen
okay?
in. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yep. Okay. Forrest Lindwall, Frank Lynham, those aren't here. Jason Hunter. We've got.
I'm here. Sorry.
That's okay. Jay.
Yeah, here.
Great. Jennifer Burke. So Jennifer from the town of Bridgewater, she has sent her apologies. Lee Hartman is absent. Marlene Amity absent. Mary Ellen DeFrayis.
She should be coming on shortly.
She will be, okay. We'll mark her. Mike Lambert, absent. Pam McCarthy.
Here.
Pam's here. Pelej Marcelin, absent. Rob May.
Here.
Rob Downey, he's on the list. He's no longer with the town of Kingston. He's absent. Sean Boucher, Eastern Bank, absent. Sheila Sullivan Jardin, absent. Stephanie Danielson is joyfully on vacation, so she sends her apologies. Tracy Costa, not here, and Valerie Massard, not here. Okay, we're good to go, John.
Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is review and approval of the minutes. So I think Joanne had sent out the minutes from the June 15th meeting with the agenda. Hopefully people have had a chance to take a look at those. If so, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th.
I make a motion to approve the
Second.
minutes.
Thanks, thank you, Rob. Any opposed? And we'll approve the minutes from June 15th. Next on the agenda is the committee terms of reference, the final review and vote. So Joanne, I'll turn it over to you for that.
Thank you, John. So everybody should have received a final copy of the terms of reference that incorporates the comments that have been provided at the last meeting as well as the previous meetings. It's up to you, John, how you want to do this. Do we want to go through it again? Has everybody had a chance to review it? Is there anything that anybody sees need changing? Otherwise, we can just take it to a vote.
Yeah, I think we had gone through it pretty thoroughly the last couple of meetings. So, and I know you've made those changes, Joanne, that were suggested. So unless anybody would like to bring up something specific, I think we're in pretty good shape to take a motion and move on to the vote. And I'll open it up if anybody has any comments prior to that.
Quick question, if I could.
Mhm.
How will OCPC and the CEDS program coordinator, I believe that's your title, Joanne, be reaching out to communities to ensure that they are nominating folks for the CEDS committee?
So once we accept the terms, I've got a listing of membership to go through with everyone. So remember that all the municipalities aren't going to be on the committee. So what we first have to do is confirm who wants to continue serving, remove some of the people that haven't been or aren't interested in or have moved positions. That will let us know how many spots are left. And once we know how many spots are left, then what we're hoping to do is have a discussion with Mary Ellen and John between this meeting and the next to identify various recommendations that we've kind of collected over the past year, basically since Bruce left, to try and plug in some of those gaps that we've identified through our previous conversations. And then at the next meeting, we'd all talk about who we want to approach to see if they're interested in becoming a member. So it's the committee as a whole at the next meeting that I'm hoping to start the conversation with.
Okay.
And then OCPC can do the legwork to kind of see who wants to join or not join. And we'll have to kind of plug those gaps. I'm hoping by the end of the year, we can have a full committee. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Is there any other questions or comments? If not, we could entertain a motion to accept the terms of reference.
I'll make a motion to accept the CEDS committee terms of reference as written.
I'll second.
Great, thank you. Take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is membership review. Joanne, you're slated for that one?
Yeah, so
Excuse me, Joanne, I don't mean to interrupt, but there's two attendees, Chris and Sean Bailey, in the waiting room. If you want to make
yeah,
a co-host, I can move them in for you.
I've been trying to move them in, but for some reason it's not popping them in. I don't know if it's my side or your side. I'm not even sure I can. Mary, are you the host?
We're all hosts, so they're.
Oh, wait, they just popped over.
They
I think
did.
we're good.
Sometimes it takes a little bit for the recipient to move forward, so thank you.
Hi, Chris, welcome. All right, so membership. So as you guys could probably tell through the roll call, there are quite a few people on the list that haven't attended in a very long time. I have attendance records since I think the beginning of 2019. So the first thing that I'd like to do is just go through the active members that we have and ask you guys to confirm whether or not you'd like to continue on the committee. So as per our new terms of reference, the term cycles with the annual meeting of OCPC. So these would be appointments that would last until, Mary, is it June that the next annual meeting is? So these appointments would last until June, and then at June's annual meeting, folks would just, again, express interest if they want to continue and be put forward as a slate. So I thought we'd do that first because that should be the easy part. So John, I assume you would like to continue?
Yes.
Excellent. Jason Hunter and Sheila Sullivan Jardim, you guys are both the Greater Brockton Workforce Board. And under the new terms, we can only have one voting member. So obviously both of you can continue to come and participate, but we'll have to figure out who is the voter and who is kind of the substitute.
Sure.
So I don't know if you want to talk to Sheila and get back to us on that.
Yeah, I'll talk to her this afternoon, but it'll probably remain me and she'll attend as she can.
As she can.
As
Okay,
the-
super. Awesome. Okay, so that's seat number 2 taken. Mary Ellen Brett, I don't think she's joined yet. I'm assuming Mary Ellen's going to continue, but I will check with her when she comes on. So that will be our 3rd seat. Chris Cooney, I see you've joined us today. Thank you. Chris, do you want to continue serving?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome.
Thank
So
you.
we've got Chris on the 4th seat. Pam, would you like to continue?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so that's our 5th seat. Rob May,
Yes,
all right, 6th seat. Stephanie Danielson is on vacation, I'm assuming, but I'll confirm with her via email as well. So that will be our 7th seat. Valerie Massard is no longer with the town of Duxbury. She's now with Kingston. I'm guessing that she wants to continue, but she is also on our governing council. So I'll check with her and see if she would like to continue. So that would potentially be our 8th seat. And then Mary Ellen DeFrayis and Jay, you guys are both mass development. So similar situation with Greater Brockton Workforce. One of you guys will have to be like the voting member and the other one the substitute.
Yeah,
Do you have any idea?
Mary Ellen can have it. That's fine. She can
Okay.
attend a little bit more than me, so
Okay,
that should be fine.
awesome. 2. So that brings us up to 9 seats that are filled, assuming Stephanie and Valerie and Mary Ellen continue. So Jennifer Burke, who is now known as Jennifer Dubois-Briand, she has reached out with a couple of apologies. So I'm assuming she wants to continue, but I'll reach out to her when she's back in the office to see if she, if she does have the availability. I know that Lori has mentioned that the town administrator, Michael Dutton, has an interest in economic development as well too. So I'm wondering maybe the 2 of them, between them, can kind of mix and match meetings. So I'll follow up with them. And then Mary Waldron is going to reach out to Sean Boucher. So he hasn't attended in a while. I'm not exactly sure why that is. We had some issues previously where folks weren't receiving all the emails, so that might have been the case with Sean. So Mary is going to reach out to Sean and see if he'd like to continue. Mary, do you know what Sean's title is? Do we still have Mary? Oh, she might have stepped off. Okay, so I'll ask Mary about that and we'll see if he'd like to continue. So taking into account the active members and Jennifer and Sean, that would bring us to 11 seats. Deb Petty, who has joined us today. Deb has left the town of Hanson. Deb, you're not going to be working in our region anymore, are you?
Not, I don't know as of right now.
Okay,
But,
okay,
one never knows.
okay. So we'll, I think for now, we'll have to remove you from the list. But if you
Yeah.
do continue in the region, then obviously we can always reopen that. Forrest Lindwall. Does anybody know who that is? I don't know Forrest.
I know Forrest. He was the chair of our redevelopment authority, and he's had some very serious health issues in recent months. So I know he wasn't really that active prior to this time, but I know right now he probably wouldn't be able to serve due to health issues. But as a courtesy, you probably should just reach out to make sure that that's his thought.
Okay, so with our new terms, so he's with the town, right? Or is the redevelopment authority separate?
It's separate.
It's separate. Okay, so he could in theory then continue. Okay, so I'll reach out to Forrest. I don't think I have his email. Pam, would you be able to send it to me?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Frank Lynham. So I believe he used to be on the committee as the town of Whitman, but he's not in Whitman, I don't think anymore.
Well, he retired.
He retired. Okay, so Frank is off. Lee Hartman was a member. I did speak to Lee. Lee would prefer not to continue on the committee, and instead he suggested Stephen Cole, who is the Plymouth Economic Development Director. So I'll remove Lee, and then we can discuss his suggestion when we come on to that part. Marlene Amity, so she hasn't attended a meeting since my record from back in 2019. She, I believe, at that time was a Brockton resident and also the director of Haitian Community Partners. I know Marlene now is in, I think she lives in one of the H communities, Halifax, maybe. So my recommendation is that we can remove her from the list. Or if the committee would want to try and re-engage her, we can try and do that. But I know Marlene has kind of a crazy schedule. It's often hard to pin her down. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? No? Okay. Pelej Marcelin, again, hasn't attended since the record started in 2019. I've never met Pelej. I Googled, and apparently still the director at Brockton Home Health Agency. Does anybody know Pelej? No? Okay, so I think we'll remove Pelej. Robert Downey was on the committee as the town of Kingston. He's no longer there, and Val has taken his spot. So we'll remove Rob, and then I'll reconfirm with Val if she wants to continue in that seat. And then the last one that was on the list was Tracy Costa of Ransom Environmental. She hasn't attended since 2019. As far as I can tell from my internet research, I don't believe she lives in the region or even works in the region. Does anybody know Tracy Costa?
Oh, we talked about Joanne, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
She does work, she's the LSP for the city of Brockton,
Ah, okay.
just FYI.
So is she somebody that we'd want to try and re-engage to be on this committee? Does anybody remember her being a committee member?
Yes, and she was good friends with Bruce Hughes on this one. I thought we chatted about this one, Joanne, but I think we were talking more globally about if she's the contact, do we get somebody who represents LSP, someone who might be a little bit more of, I mean, she's been there, and you know, the fact that people know her, the idea is maybe there is a number of people that, you know, certainly not to add 5 LSPs, but certainly to they're just rotating members out who are representing that industry.
So I'll remove her, but we can add her to maybe the discussion about who to fill seats with and see where she kind of falls out with that.
And you've reached out to her, right?
I have not, no.
I will say
Okay.
I'm probably in touch with her at least once a week. She's
Mhm.
right now the LSP on 4 out of my 6 grant projects. And one of them being the city of Brockton. So we can have a discussion, but if you have trouble reaching out to her, I'm happy to.
Oh, great. Thanks, Mary Ellen. Okay, so that's pretty much the whole list. So depending on Tracy, and it sounds like Forrest is probably unlikely. So we really need to confirm Jennifer, Sean, and Tracy. That would potentially bring us up to, I think it's about 14 or 15. So we do have at least 3 open seats. I've started a long list of recommendations and folks that have kind of expressed interest to us over the last several months, us being OCPC. So I'll start pulling all of that together. And what I was thinking is that if committee members could have a think about who's on here now and who else they'd like to see participate, if they could send that those names and affiliations to me within sort of the next week or so, I can pull together a long list. I'll sort them according to like who's, municipality, who's a nonprofit, who might be representing the different areas that we had talked about before, academia and whatnot. And then John, I was thinking we could have a conversation between now and the next meeting to kind of go through that list and then present that to committee members at the next meeting, which would be in October. And at the October meeting, make some decisions for new members to approach and see if they'd want to participate in the committee. Mary, I think you have your hand up.
I do. I think what I wanted just to advise is from just even just looking at our makeup of this, what my screen looks like. And we've talked about this, Joanne, but for the other committee members, and I don't have a vote, but I really think we need to make an effort to be diverse in our makeup. And I think it's not just only makeup of race, but also of background and or doing a little bit as committee members. I think it's all, I've done this with Seed Corporation. I've done this with pretty much as Jason knows, I've done this also with Mass Hire on all my boards, just really kind of doing a really good flushing out from committee members as well as the staff to diversify our makeup.
Right, I agree, Mary, that's important. So as we go through, Joanne, we're going to want to be keeping those things in mind. But I do like your idea of us getting together in between meetings and then coming back at the next one with some concrete information. So thank you for going through all that. That's a lot of work. I know, we appreciate it to keep
Very welcome.
The committee active. You're on again, Joanne, for the update on the September webinar, the workforce development.
Yes, so at the last meeting, the committee wanted to see the September webinar themed around workforce development. So staff at OCPC met yesterday to talk about what that might look like. And what we were thinking of doing is inviting the 4 workforce investment boards that work in our region to participate as panelists in the webinar, and each one would address a specific question that's posed to them. So we haven't quite worked those questions out, and we wanted to get your thoughts and feedback on what you think would be of most interest, particularly for municipalities to hear from workforce investment boards. But we thought one of them could introduce what workforce investment boards do generally. There's probably, just from our working with municipalities, we think there's probably quite a few town staff who don't know what workforce investment boards do. Another one could maybe talk about the data that workforce investment boards have access to and how that might be useful to municipalities as they're developing grant applications or putting together economic development initiatives in their communities, as well as other projects. And then choose 2 other questions for the other 2 investment boards to kind of specifically target. That way everybody's not saying the same thing. Does anybody have any kind of thoughts or suggestions or ideas for what in particular might interest municipalities on the workforce angle if we hear from the workforce boards?
Joanne, I would just say from the municipal perspective that I have, really understanding what can the workforce boards do with the town? What's the best way to connect? How can we strengthen that relationship? If I wasn't, involved in OCPC and working, understanding the workforce investment, I bet you none of my select board members do. So it's probably really good to get that information so that we can take advantage of it. We were trying to set up a job fair and we didn't really get a lot of success. It was going to be called Jobs and Jabs. We were going to do it at a vaccination clinic that we had in Easton, and somehow it didn't gain any traction. But we have a lot of people in our Chamber of Commerce saying that they can't find help. So how can we make that connection stronger?
And I'd like to know how the virtual mass hire job fair is going that started yesterday. I know my daughter actually was trying to apply through that, and she got thrown off 4 times because I think they might have been a little bit overwhelmed, but then she was able to log back on and she thought it was pretty good. But I saw how it listed by community what organizations were hiring, and I was just wondering, how that outreach went about. For instance, in Stoughton, how would the businesses that were looking for employees, how would they know to list themselves through that job fair? So I guess outreach is a part of it, letting the businesses that are looking for employees know how they can utilize tools like that.
Yeah, they did quite an extensive marketing campaign at the state level. I don't know if you missed the commercials that were on every couple minutes.
Oh, no, I saw them, but it's my experience that a lot of times, no matter how much you have outreach through the, media, that the business owners themselves aren't paying attention to them a lot of the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
One of the other ways we did it, Pam, was the career centers with the business service staff that each of the career centers have throughout the state. There's about 30 centers in the state.
Mhm.
Overseen by these 16 workforce boards. So we did our own outreach to our customers as well.
Okay.
So that we tried to do it on sort of both levels. We have, connections with a lot of the companies in the area. So we certainly got the word out to them, but then at the state level from the governor's office, that's where those commercials were sort of saturating the airways the last couple of weeks, but
Yeah, so maybe from my perspective, for things like that in the future, I could find out how I could actually help get the word out at the town level, how we can help with the outreach.
Yeah, that'd be
Thank
great.
you.
So
Anybody else?
if not, next, Joanne, is the November webinar, the topic for November?
Yep, so we've got workforce in September, and then we need to come up with a topic for November. I guess September, November. My mind's all over the place today. Some of the suggestions that we had talked about in the past was how to market your municipality to attract business. There was also interest in doing something on tourism. Leah Filson had volunteered to be a presenter if we did do something on tourism. That could potentially be a hot topic as well. And then we had a whole smattering of other topics in the past as well too that didn't really get much consensus. So I'm wondering, is there a topic for November that the committee feels would be timely? Would tourism perhaps be a good time to do something for that in November? Or is there something kind of more on the horizon that would interest municipalities?
Well, I know I'm working with Dottie on the marketing app. And one of the main purposes of that is to try to help the small businesses with their recovery. So, I would be interested in more information as to how we can help the businesses market themselves. I know there's a lot of different programs and opportunities, but maybe to just make it a little bit more concise so that it's easier to make the business owners aware of those opportunities, because I'm running my own micro enterprise grant program, and I do status reports, and that's still one of the #1 things that the businesses are telling me, that they still need help with marketing.
Mm-hmm. Some of
Joanne,
the
I
other
would-
ideas. Oh, go ahead.
I would suggest something on rooms tax and how municipalities collect, which municipalities in your region collect rooms tax, what they charge for the local option rooms tax, how they account for those funds once they're in, and how do they spend them. It really varies in the region that you serve dramatically. And it's also, it would be helpful for towns that don't have hotels to gain an understanding of that revenue source, so that maybe they would be more open to a hotel proposal in their community. In other words, if you're a town that doesn't have one, a hotel, you might not even be aware there is a rooms tax, or that it could mean $500,000 a year with a couple of hotels added to your town. So that can be an interesting topic right now.
Mhm.
I think that's great, Chris. And from Easton standpoint, we want a hotel. We need a hotel near Stonehill. So maybe to kind of dovetail with that is on both the discussions of how do you market your community, how do we market our community to attract hotels or certain businesses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just an example, Brockton, collects, or I think you have to go back to 2019. So numbers from 2020 aren't going to really incentivize too many people because there weren't a lot of hotels being rented. But if you look at Brockton in 2019, there were probably over 600,000 in hotel rooms tax collections. That's a significant amount of money. Room occupancy rates also, all this comes out from the DOR, Department of Revenue. They'll give you all of the stats, and as well as you can pull in occupancy rates. What was interesting when I got here in Brockton a number of years ago, I had been in Plymouth for 4 years prior, and the occupancy rate on average in Brockton rivaled Plymouth year over year. So you may have had higher occupancy in Plymouth during 3 or 4 months, but Brockton day in and day out had more people staying year in and year out, staying in rooms. And so the collections actually rivaled Plymouth. And you wouldn't think that, but once you get into the numbers, you start to realize the potential for servicing an area, especially in the communities that you serve that are within striking distance of Boston and Cape Cod. And so you have a value tourist market that may be more conducive to a market, a value market hotel brand than, some of the higher ones that are $400 or $500 a night. And that's who we're getting. We're getting folks from Ohio and Pennsylvania who are, willing to do a hub and spoke, stay in the outer towns in a safe, area that is comfortable for them, and then just do a day to Plymouth, a day to Boston, and that type of thing. So.
Thanks, Chris.
One idea.
Anybody else have any thoughts? Otherwise, we'll just kind of take what we've got and go back and do a little bit more homework on our end.
Great, thanks, Joanne.
Mhm.
Dottie, would you like to speak about the economic recovery resources and grants, the new EDA grant opportunities?
Sure. So Joanne and I have been spending every waking moment on webinars to learn more about the 6 main EDA economic development grants for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, which is $1 billion. The Good Jobs Challenge, which is $500 million. The Economic Adjustment Assistance, which is $500 million. The Indigenous Communities of $100 million. Travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation, $750 million, and the statewide planning, research, and networks is $90 million. So, so Massachusetts will get $1 million that the governor will decide what he wants to do with that money. The MARPA reps and the Massachusetts Economic Development District planners are working together to get some information to the governor for some suggestions on how we might help him spend that money. And then we're asking communities to reach out to us. Brockton has reached out to us. Plymouth has reached out to us for some of these ideas that they may want to submit grants for. We're working with our EDD regional rep, Deborah Bevan, to kind of, we're going to try to help facilitate getting the movement from the group that wants the application to the EDD. So she's going to kind of let us know if they need work, if she thinks that those could move forward and so on. So these are really, really big grant opportunities. For the Build Back Better, they're going to look at awarding for the phase 1, probably between 30 to 50 grants. And then the phase 2 is only going to be 20 to 30 grants through the whole country and the territories. So extremely competitive. There's also a STEM talent challenge, and that's $2 million. That'll provide work and learn programs to increase America's STEM capable workforce at emerging and transformative sectors, such as commerce, aeronautics, digital manufacturing, biotech, advanced manufacturing, and cybersecurity. So there's information about that. And I'll send all of this to Joanne that she can send to everyone in the follow-up email. Of course, the U.S. Small Business Administration, a lot of the programs they have used their funding so far, but there's a business guide and there's other funding programs that I think that people should be aware of. And then the Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation, always look to them to see what they have coming out. Right now, they still have Empower Digital, which there's $3.8 million available for development of digital capabilities. The grant is a match up to $5,000 awarded to small businesses, and it's on a rolling basis until the money runs out. So it's still on their website, and it's certainly an opportunity. And then, Chris, I don't know if you have any other, I know the chamber is really good about listing all the grant opportunities. There's some random, small, I think you had one that was the top 50 grants that are not part of these big grants on your website too.
Yeah, we ran an article, I think it was from Forbes, and it was a colleague who wrote the article, and he identified sources of income for small businesses, and that is on our e-update and our update that's going out to folks that have participated in the Friday calls. So we've had more than 1,000 people on those calls. We will resume those on September 10th. Mass Office Business Development has committed, the mayor's committed. We're waiting on SBA. We hope to have them on the call as well. But I will tell you that in this budget was $5 million that would refund the pilot program that many organizations applied for, including OCPC last February. And that timeline was awfully tight, as you recall. We had to get the application in, we had to then be notified, then we had to put our bids together and get all of the invoices in by this June 30th. It was a little stressful, but that was kind of a fire drill for this year. So those funds will go back out again. There'll be opportunity. Bridgewater State University received one, and so did OCPC for our region. We will likely be applying this year for this coming round. My understanding is that they will prioritize organizations that didn't apply, but I would encourage everyone to apply because they've got $5 million and that's local. So.
Yeah, so that's what the OCPC used that grant funding to do. It was supposed to be for 2 communities, a minimum to work together to come up with something for immediate economic development. And we worked on a business directory app that is, being released right now. Easton's is live. It's called Discover Easton MA, and you can find that and download it on the Apple Store or the Google. Avon's is Discover Avon MA. Stoughton's is lined up. That'll be in the next 2 weeks. That's going to be Discover Stoughton MA. And Brockton, we're waiting for some technical changes for that, and that should be right behind it. We're really excited about it. Then there's a marketing materials and signage and all that to promote the app. So we're hoping it works well, and maybe other communities would be interested in that in the future. But for the next round, you're right, Chris. I lost many nights sleep over trying to get the documentation, and Stoughton was wonderful. They came in. We had a couple of communities drop out, and I said to Pam, I have an offer you can't refuse. And she was like, sign us up. So she got that turned around incredibly quickly. And very excited to work on it with these groups. And you'll see the press releases when it's fully unveiled. But Chris, I think you're right. You know, we OCPC would love to work with anybody that also wants to try to get that grant. So I think we've learned the ins and outs of it, and we can probably be very helpful with that.
Thank you. I just want to mention to Pam, if your daughter wants to send her resume out, I'd be happy to keep it in mind, as I have a lot of people now looking for people and they're reaching out to the chamber. So
Oh, that's good to know. Thanks very much.
yeah.
Great, thank you, Dottie, for the update. We appreciate hearing about all the different grants. It's hard to keep track of them sometimes. So with everybody so busy, if you could send that to Joanne and it gets out, I think it's really helpful for the municipalities. The next item is the member updates. I don't know if anybody had any updates. I did want to just touch base quickly, as Pam mentioned, the statewide job fair that's going on through the Mass Hire Workforce System kicked off yesterday. It's a 5-day event each day this week from 10 to 2. There's different industries being represented each day. Yesterday was a general, so all industries were accessible. Today is manufacturing, professional services, and finance. Tomorrow's healthcare, human services, hospitality, and education. Thursday's general again. And then Friday is IT, building services, and other industries. So just for some perspective on it, we've had over 8,700 job seekers that have signed up to participate this week, and over 1,400 companies. Yesterday, we had 6,800 job seekers attend, which is right around 78% of the total that signed up. So that's probably what your daughter ran into a little bit in the morning there. The program is called Premier Virtual. That's the platform. The state has purchased a license with Premier Virtual. Each one of the career centers has an individual license. So we've used them a couple times over the last year to run some local job fairs. And it is pretty cool. The companies get their own booths, just like a regular job fair. People can come in, submit a resume. They can chat with the company rep. If the company chooses, they can have a video chat if they want to have sort of a quick interview. So it is a good opportunity for people to hit a lot of companies in a short period of time. As Pam mentioned, within each day, it is broken down geographically too. So, you know, if you're interested in healthcare, obviously in our area, you want to focus more on the Southeast. Polio doesn't really help you much. So they did sort of break it down that way so you can focus your job search. But this is the first of its kind for us, for the workforce system, and we sort of have high hopes. The numbers certainly show that people, the federal unemployment is ending September 4th. That's 370,000 people that are going to come off benefits in the state. So I think the push is on. As Chris mentioned, companies have a lot of jobs open right now. It's a good time to look for a job because there are a lot of openings, and companies, we're seeing wages reflect that a little bit. So that's just sort of an overview. Today's day 2, so we'll see how today goes. Hopefully no major crashes or anything, but if this is successful, I think you'll see more of these as we move forward. So I don't know if anybody had any other updates.
I just wanted to mention that anybody that drives through Stoughton for the last decade has been asking what's going on with the hole in the ground. There was a building called Malcolm and Parsons Insurance Company that burned down about 10 years ago. And they finally issued the demo permit the other day, and they knocked down what was remaining. And now they're going to start to build a nice mixed use building in our downtown, which will go a lot towards making it look a lot more attractive. And it's just great for morale too, because the community now sees something moving forward that's literally been sitting there for a decade. So that's just something you might notice if you happen to drive through town.
It's great to hear, Pam. John, on the statewide job fair, is that something that they can or will do going forward, you know, over the next 6 months as this thing hopefully gets better? Or is this kind of one and done?
I think they're, you know, hopefully they will have some success with it, Chris, and I think they'd like to do it more often.
Yeah.
So certainly over the next 6 months, as the governor was very interested in this project. And you could see from the marketing, the
Yeah.
governor's office took over the marketing campaign. And so he's paying pretty close attention. So I think if we have some luck and we get some good feedback from the companies and the job seekers, certainly the system, they pulled it together pretty quick. The idea just came up about a month ago, and to roll it out the way it has. So that I think our system can do it. It would just be based on the demand. To
I
your
think
point, I
back-
think we're gonna see it. We'll see the demand.
Yeah, I do think the demand's there, and I think it's great. You know, I remember back in the recession of, I don't know, one of the recessions when I was younger, they used to do hiring right on TV. You know, they'd have these live hiring, and after they'd make a match, and then they'd, you know, talk to the person who just got a job. Literally, it was live television. It was one of the first reality TVs. You know, you saw people showing up, hat in hand, looking for a job. Anybody remember this back in, like, I don't know, the early 80s? And Rhode Island was doing it heavily, and I lived in that area. So but people would literally walk in past the camera, introduce themselves, that, you know, and then they'd talk, and then they'd hire people on the spot. I wonder if they'll do some success stories from this, and to give more publicity to both sides, that this is a place to get a job and to find an employee.
Yeah. Yeah, we're certainly gonna be trying to capture as much of the information as we can.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Thank you.
The next is other business. I don't know if anybody has any other business.
I do. Well, I have just one item. I'm just putting it in the chat right now. On August 26th, Old Colony Planning Council is sponsoring a night at Prova. I think pretty much just about everybody on this call has done it in one way or the other. But we're on the 26th, and we are inviting all of our partners and communities, and just another way just to introduce. So the foundation and my husband's memory had it on Friday, and Brockton Beer informed me that that was their highest serving their sales that they had. So, you know, but it was fun. It was hot, but it was beautiful, and it was wonderful, and just another way of celebrating. And just one other item. So I am the interim president of the Downtown Brockton Association, and tomorrow there is an open forum that is not just only for property owners or business owners, but for employees and for visitors. It's just an open forum just to kind of solicit information about what the want is. And part of the premise behind that is, before taking on as president and dictating, I shouldn't say that so strongly, but for directing the priorities, I thought it was really important for all. So I've been walking around downtown, passing around the flyers. People didn't even know the DBA existed, but it does require, right? There's some things just of taking the time. So anyway, that's tomorrow. And then Prova is on the 26th.
Mary, is that live tomorrow in your office?
It is. Mask will be required, and we just have our sign in like normal, but as long as people wear their mask, it will be. So that's 3 times during the day. I should probably upload. If you need the flyer, just let me know. I'll have Joanne send it out. But it is from 7:30 to 9. I should have it right here. And then it's around the lunchtime, and then it's from 4:30 till 6. 6:30, I forget. Anyway, I'm not going to shove anybody out, but again, we'll be having many of the things that Rob May has been working on around available, but we'll basically have people identify the strength and weakness and opportunities and threats, just really kind of getting a little bit of, some of it will be anecdotal, I'm sure, but Jason Corbwood just stopped by the office. He's the developer of the station loft, he's taken those and having his residents attend. So
And also, I think it's worth noting that that Adelsa Mendez is a new, I'm not sure if it came up at this before, but she's the new business liaison for the mayor's office, and she's doing a fantastic job going out and meeting businesses. They invited small businesses to an event that they had right after she started, and she got probably close to 100 people to come to the event, which was shocking because it's really, really hard to get a lot of people together now. And it was done in a very safe way, environment. They had food, courtesy of Chris in the chamber. So it was a real collaborative effort. And so they're going to have a follow-up to that. I think it's on, is it on September 21st? It's around
Yes.
that. Yeah. So they're going to have people come back to that as well, part of the mayor's Open for Business program. So it's really exciting. Adelsa is fabulous. She speaks multiple languages. People really connect with her. And we're really happy to be supporting that initiative along with the mayor's office and the Chamber and the Brockton Redevelopment Authority.
Thanks, Dottie. Any other business anybody like to bring up? If not, this is the portion of the agenda where we open for public comment.
I don't think there are any
No,
members of the
nobody?
public on, John.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to our next meeting date is Tuesday, October 19th at noontime. Hopefully everybody will be able to join us at that time. We do have the September webinar. Do you have the date on that, Joanne?
I do. So tentatively, because it depends on the availability of the workforce boards, but it should be on September 21st at 12 noon. So it runs on the same schedule as our meetings.
Great, thanks. And so that'll be, we'll get that out as well, so people can plan on that once we have the date locked up. And other than that, if there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, anyone?
I'll second it.
Great, thank you, Jason. So with that, the meeting is adjourned. Right on time, Mary. I want, make sure Mary Ellen Brett knows that. Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
guys.
bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.